Hello and you're very welcome to Camogie Talk, where today we'll be previewing the Liberty Insurance Senior Camogie Championship semi-final between Cork and Wexford, which throws in this Saturday at Semple Stadium at 2 p.m. I'm joined today by former All-Ireland winning captain Ursula Jacob from Wexford and sports journalist Daragh Conchúir. So guys, you're very welcome.
Thanks, Anna.
Today. You're back again.
Back again.
Another step closer to the All-Ireland finals. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, we had, I suppose, two very interesting quarter-finals, and the one we thought maybe might be tight wasn't, and the one we thought might be a bit more definitive went all the way to the wire.
Yeah, I suppose, and that's the thing. You see, predictions can be wrong. So we'll focus first of all on Cork and Wexford. And I suppose Wexford really coming off the back of a very tight game, and I suppose nobody really could have predicted that finish. Kate Kelly is probably a hero yet again down in Wexford. Talk to me, Ursula, just to start with yourself, about the position now that Wexford are in after that win.
Well, look, as we all know, it was an extremely tough battle against Tipperary. I think it's going to be an invaluable game for Wexford to have gotten. It was a lot closer than I think anyone anticipated, but I think it's going to stand to Wexford. I think that extra game, they're going to have learned a lot about their own style of play. They'll know that performance against Tipperary won't do against Cork. Cork, on the other hand, will be looking at that game and seeing where maybe they can break down Wexford's defence or stop Wexford's attack. But I think both Cork and Wexford are going to learn a lot from it. But definitely it was a really tough battle for Wexford to get.
And Daragh, Wexford led in that game for the first time with the dying seconds when Kate put that point over. What players for you really stood up and I suppose show that composure and experience when it was counted most for Wexford?
Yeah, there were probably three big players and they are really experienced players, while some younger players came on and had an impact like Chloe Fox, but the real three big players were, I guess, Mags Darcy initially. We know Mags has come back from a really bad debilitating hip injury and put in a lot of work to get back. And she's made it this year, and she's a leader, as Ursula will know. She just says the right things, but apart from that, she's a brilliant goalkeeper, and she made 3 huge saves at a time when Wexford were hanging on, and then one late on to maintain the momentum. If Tip had got the goal, it was done. Mary Lacey obviously thundered into it there in the last 10 minutes or that. And then obviously in the end, Kate, came up with it. I think it's her 20th year into senior into County Camogie, her 21st season. We spoke about her. It's incredible, and it was her 8th point. It moves her top scorer in the championship to date, and it was an incredible score and it won the game.
I suppose, speaking about Wexford's attack, and you mentioned Kate and obviously Una, they seem to be the two main, Una got the goal, the two main attackers for Wexford. Do you think there's an over-reliance perhaps on those two players in Wexford's attack?
Well, look, you have to, see throughout the games the two top scorers for Wexford each day is Kate Kelly and Una Lacey, and obviously Cork are going to have to be mindful of these two girls. Now, look, at the likes of Shelley Keogh midfield, as well has been, popping over scores throughout the matches. But Kate has been getting a lot of scores through frees and from open play, and Cork are going to have to maybe man mark Kate and watch Una's goal threat in around the edge of the square. Now against Tipperary, I thought Una was out that bit too far away from the goal, and her threat wasn't as obvious, and so Wexford are going to have to really get her in on the edge of the square and get the ball in nice and quick. It was maybe too slow at times going into the full forward line, so that's something that Wexford know they'll have to work on.
And Daragh, how do you think Cork's defence now is going to set up against Wexford's attack?
Yeah, well, look, I think we all know the way Cork tend to play. They certainly commit numbers defensively and work really, really hard. Aisling will be back, Aisling Thompson sweeping, and maybe Gemma will be trying to pick up breaks and be loose in that. But Pamela Mackey is obviously one of the best man markers in the game. Yep. Laura Tracy has really settled into that full back position that you vacated there, Anna.
I was only there for a brief spell.
Maybe they were giving you a hint, I don't know, but Maeve Callan, these sort of players have other years under their belt, so I think they have the personnel, and they will need to, you will look at someone, if you're Wexford, someone like Katrina Parrock, who's pacey and plenty of experience to pick it up, but I think Cork will feel like they have. But obviously Una Lacey, if you get her in tight, she probably was coming out because they were struggling, and it tends to happen generically, but they do need her in there. We saw the goal she got in the group stages against Cork. Once she gets it in the hand, it's party over.
Okay, and like let's talk about Cork now for a second. I mean, they've had a 4-week layoff. They had club championship in the meantime. But do you think that long period of time is, I suppose, an advantage or a disadvantage? Like Ursula, you've been in that situation before with Wexford.
Yeah.
How do you cope with that?
It is difficult enough to manage now. I know Cork had a club championship round of games, so they were with the clubs for 1 week. So they had relatively then a 3-week period where they have to work on their own game. That they were waiting then 2 weeks ago to see who they were playing. So until you know who you're fully playing in the semi-final, you can't. What way they play against Wexford might be different to the way they play against Tipperary. So they'll have learned and looked at the Wexford Tip game. They'll know that they probably would have had competitive matches in training. That's something that we would have done in the past. The seniors and intermediates, Cork are still in the intermediate championship, and they'll know that to build a strong panel, they'll have good competitive games in training.
And Daragh, like we've talked about Wexford's attack, just briefly, Cork's attack, I mean, they've got, 1375, they're the highest attack scored in the championship. Like, talk to me a little bit about them.
Well, look, and it's one of those things, and you have it in the maybe Gaelic Football Championship as well. People think it's a defensive system. It's not. It's making yourself hard to break down and then hitting quickly on the counter attack. And the fact that they are the leading scorer sums it up. Amy O'Connor and Katrina Mackey are goal machines, and the reason is that's what they think when they get the ball. They're like Kilkenny forwards. They're going. That's their first check. Go, bang, and so that's. Wexford defenders will have to be mindful of that, and they struggle a bit with pace against Tip, so it would be a concern.
Okay, well, we're coming to the prediction stages now, and we're going to get them for you. Obviously, the last time these two met, Wexford snuck in the goal at the very end to clinch the win. Do you see that going that way again, or is it going to be different? Daragh, we'll start with you.
Yeah, it's very hard to say, but I would be inclined to come down on the side of Cork. I mean, they are going for the 3 in a row. Wexford are obviously plenty motivated, but I just would have been concerned with some of the weaknesses that were exposed by Tipperary, and a Tipperary team without Sarah Friday and Caught Van, obviously, although they were without Caught all year. But I just think, no doubt they'll work on it, but I think Cork have the overall strength maybe to sneak it.
And Ursula?
Well, I'm going to stick with Wexford. I just think they showed great character and resilience in that Tipperary match. A lot of teams would have been dead and buried at that stage, and I think they really came back. They didn't panic, and they just kept tipping away their scores, and I just think the hurt of last year's semi-final loss to Galway is going to spur Wexford on to victory.
So there you have it. You have the predictions from the experts. Join us in Semple Stadium at 2 p.m. for a great match between Cork and Wexford. Whether you're a Wexford fan or a Cork fan or neutral, make sure you come out and support.